So, oh, for fuck's sakes, this camera's fucked. When I'm sitting in a pavilion, which is a beautiful building in Kearney, where my friends stay on a farm up here, and it's grey outside. It's raining, as you can see behind me. It's raining out there, and I keep turning around my camera, and it keeps losing the light. I've got a light on right now, so I'm doing my best to be able to be front lit, but backlit, forget about it. It just keeps conking out. So there'll be times I'll be conducting the light with my hands to try and make my camera focus on me, so when I'm talking, you can actually see me. Because otherwise, I go dark again, and you lose me. I've had my last video recorded on this camera, where I was sitting over in the lounge area of the pavilion here. There it goes again. I vanish into the darkness. But I am still here. You can see me. I'm still here. But this is bonkers. I'm back. So what I want to talk about is regards to what I learned in 2014, 2013, 2012, in regards to also about a video that I just made before, which I'll probably have released by the time this video comes out. I would have released it a long time ago. But the video was about the nature of me telling a story and finding a way to get around censorship, because when I made a video about the Pseudo Canal War of the Worlds situation, what I perceived to be predictive programming around that video, around that TV series, the Pseudo Canal 2019 War of the Worlds, 2 seasons, which to me was predictive programming. I talked about the nature of how a certain medical procedure had technology within it that actually that correlated with the story itself, the War of the Worlds story. There was a correlation there around what I perceived to be what was a potential reality manifesting in our reality, because there was a timeline, as in the revelation of the work of the revelation of the method. They have to show you exactly what they're going to do so people can know this and understand it. And whether it's through the use of symbols, use of media, through the use of books, science fiction, TV series, people talking heads, professors, you name it, anyone at all. They have to reveal to you, due to the nature of that natural law. They have to tell you exactly what they're going to do, and then through either coercion or through acquiescence, you have the opportunity to actually say yes or no and consent to the actual process, right? So I talked about the nature of this TV series. And what I was seeing around this TV series was the fact that there was a potential for what was happening now. I made that video back in the beginning of 2023. And what I began to see after I posted that video, weeks and weeks after that, was the introduction of robotic killer dogs, the big DARPA big dogs, amphibious robot dogs, and also 4-wheel drive AI operated robot dogs. And that was part of if you watch the TV series, that's a big part of the actual TV series. The future humans that come into our timeline from the future have with them a synergy of the biology of the human body and the biology of it's a chimera cyborg creation of robotics with human biology and the biology of an animal. And these particular dogs, these big dogs, these DARPA big dogs in that TV series are basically programmed to hunt and kill the survivors of a event that takes place in that TV series. And I was seeing the last few weeks, due to the nature of what I was talking about and what was becoming available to me and shown to me from people who are working within an industry about exposing the use of AI in the military especially, was showing me information around some of these robotic AI controlled robots that were all-terrain 4-wheel drive dogs, Chinese models, and also the aquatic, which is even more terrifying, aquatic robot dogs that were being created as well and brought out into the public as well, advanced robotic engineered creations, right? So for me, back in 2013, 2014, 2012, I was watching a lot of David Icke and watching a lot of what he was creating and what he was talking about in regards to the nature of the Archons, and the Archons being a form of AI, and the Archontic energy being a form of AI that had infiltrated the biology of the Greys, or not all the Greys, but some of the Grey aliens that he didn't say at the time, but now I'm beginning to see through people like G.G. Young, the mystic G.G. Young, that there's a potential that some of these grey aliens could actually be future humans, men and women, that have gone too far in the transhumanist timeline, and are no longer human. They're more synthetic robots than they are human. They've lost their consciousness and they've lost their humanity, but they've come back from the future. But also, some of those grey biological beings, some of them are biological, some of the hybrids between biology and technology, some of those beings are actually captured and are actually working for a non-human reptilian race from the Draconis and other parts of the Orion Nebula, an interdimensional or a lower fourth dimensional, according to David Icke's work, that I'm aware of, a lower fourth dimensional reptilian race. Now, there are many people like G.G. Young that says there are no reptilians and there is no reptilian race. That's a former evolutionary life path of the human form back in the day of Lemuria. So the whole idea of reptilians and Nagas and the reptilian beings is just a former shade of what we used to be in regards to our life stream. So there are no reptilian interdimensional beings. But I'm on the fence for that one, because when I first heard about reptilians, that was in the early 90s, 1994, 95, from people that had seen them in what has now become the Kahurangi National Park in the Cobb Valley. And I thought they were smoking some pretty good shit to fucking be able to say they'd seen reptilians. A couple of my friends who I totally trusted and they had no reason to lie to me about this had seen these creatures coming out of what they said was a solid wall. I'll tell you the story. So one of my friends, Ratu, was stalking and hunting a deer in what is now the Cobb Valley, what has now become the Kahurangi National Park up the Cobb Valley, hunting and stalking a deer, and they've been stalking it for a few hours, and it was around twilight, and it was across the other side of the valley, and he was lining up the shot to shoot it. And when he lined up the shot, it got spooked and took off, and he thought, fuck, it's gone. So as he watched it take off, just to the right of it and up on the hill, there was a ledge. Looking out over the valley where this deer had been, where the deer got spooked and taken off. So right through, he stopped and kind of crouched down and watched this ledge, because he said the wall of the ledge, there's like a ledge like that with a wall like this, right? And this wall next to the ledge began to shimmer like it wasn't solid. And out of the shimmering wall walked out three, he couldn't tell the actual height, but his guess was between 7 and 9 foot tall, reptilian humanoid creatures walked out of that shimmering wall onto the ledge. He said they had like a brown coat, like a brown chest plate, but the rest of their body was lime green, and they had a circle of horns around the top of their head. And they walked out onto the little ledge. All three of them looked around a little bit like this, looked around, and then back into the wall, and the shimmering wall became solid again. And he said by the time he got over, because he wanted to go and check it out, crazy fucker, went across the other side of the valley. Time he got to the wall, it was dark. And he put his hands on that rock wall, and it was a solid rock wall. I said to him, what the fuck were you smoking when you were up there, bro? It was the first thing I asked him. And he said, I wasn't smoking anything, bro. I was fucking straight. I was stalking a deer. And I was like, okay, bro, okay. And that was before I read Barbara Marciniak's book, Bringers of the Dawn. If you read that book, I think chapter 2 talks about the Lizzies. So go figure. The jury's out for me. Are they actually a physical incarnation, or are they an etheric fingerprint, or an etheric echo of a time when we, as men and women, once had a very different incarnation back in Lemuria? The jury's out for me. I don't know. But I do know that there is definitely an imprint there, whether that's an echo that goes through our timeline and it appears in a way that is an overlay from a lower fourth dimensional existence, or it's actually a physical being. I'm not sure. There I go again, conducting my orchestra. I'm not sure. But what I did hear from Icke in 2014, 13, 12 was that this archontic energy moved through, in his perception, through the reptilian and the greys that were working with the reptilian, in his perception, and other races as well. This archontic energy moved through this rate, the particular, not all of the reptilians, and not all the greys, and not all the other beings, but there was a faction that this interdimensional archontic AI moved through and activated itself through these beings in a way that it could control them, in a way that it could control them. And I thought to myself at the time, how the fuck is that possible? How the fuck could it actually control those beings? How could it do this? How could it do this? So I started writing United, which is the sequel to Entwined, my first novel in the series with Pablo Wairoa and Lord Buford Somerset. I started writing that book in 2014. Crikey, Dick, it's so dark. I need to give it a bit more light here. There we go. In 2014, I started to write that book, the sequel to Entwined, United. And I began to channel the information that came into me, of course, taking Icke's work and, of course, utilizing and citing where I got the information from, but also channeling the information as I began to write myself. As I'm on Sueño, I began to write this book. I began to understand exactly how this interdimensional AI, the archontic force, could move through the biology of these beings and control it. And the answer was, for me, nanotech. It was nanotech. And it had managed to find a way to come through a portal into this frequency band, due to the nature of the nanotech, actually infiltrate the biology and change the biology of these beings in order to be able to control the biology of these beings, thought processes, actions, words, the composite control of these beings by the use of nanotech in this genetic makeup, changing the genetic makeup of these beings, reptilian, greys, and other beings, controlling them, changing the genetic makeup of these beings to be able to control these beings in a way that it was a direct correlation from this lower fourth dimensional entity, the AI, the archontic force, controlling these bodies, as above, so below. And of course, with this process going on between the archontic AI, the interdimensional AI, and the biology of these beings, reptilian beings, greys, and other beings that were non-human, and some humans as well. I do believe there's some humans, non-terrestrial humans, but also there are some terrestrial humans. I still feel as though there were definitely a number of terrestrial humans that had had this nanotech put into their bodies and changed their genetic makeup so that the AI could communicate through them and control them. This process needed to happen en masse, in my perception, in order for the infiltration to truly take place. And the end game, in my perception, once again, with the new knowledge that I discovered over the years, especially with the work of the mystery schools in Steiner, the harvest of consciousness and taking consciousness from this life stream, severing it from the life stream of the cycles, the ages in the Vedic sciences, the yugas, severing it from that cycle, severing it from the sojourns that that consciousness takes through the planetary spheres, as Edgar Cayce talks about in the mystery school work, severing that and taking that consciousness into the eighth sphere. And that was done through the use of technology. And I wrote this book in United in 2014, published it in 2016. So that was almost 10 years ago. And I'm seeing that, in my perception, taking place in our reality right now. I'm seeing it all around me. And people might think I'm fucking bananas by saying that, completely crazy. But I see it, and I think that there's a plausibility for this to be the case, that this interdimensional AI has found a way to come through. And the way it comes through is that we tear a portal, or create a portal within this frequency band for this energy to move from its origin to its destination, which is our frequency band, through the CERN Hadron Collider, through enactment of ceremonial dark magic rituals, through the use of sacred sites and attuning sacred sites through sacred geometry to create the portals for this energy to come through and to therefore infiltrate into the biology of being of men and women in this frequency band and other non-human beings in this frequency band if they are open to being possessed by it. I'm seeing it. In my experience, I'm seeing it. And I wrote this book, United. It's available on Ohoakebooks.com. There I go, plugging myself. And I explain in that book how my indigenous, how my indigenous superhero, Pablo Wairua, whose mother was Quechua, his father was Tuhoi, of the Tuhoi people, of the Maori people, of the Te Ururewa National Park, well, the Te Ururewa, before it became a national park. The Tuhoi people, the children of the mist, as Eldon Best called them, how this superhero, this indigenous superhero, Pablo Wairua, with the help of some friends, defeats the Archontic AI and all the beings that the AI is infiltrated, and therefore it brings a conclusion to that short mini-series of books, Entwined and United, which I wrote respectively in 2008, published, which is Entwined, wrote that book in 2008, published it in 2010, and United, which I wrote in 2014 and published in 2016. Thanks for watching. I truly appreciate it. Matewa. I'll see you again soon. Wave the hand. Here I am. Ciao.